Hello everybody! This is the ultimate beginner's guide to Palworld with the 12 best starting tips for Palworld. This guide is geared towards the player who has little to no survival game experience, maybe you've never played Pokemon before, or maybe you are like I am and you just want the coziest experience possible with Palworld. We're going to go over the settings, all of the basics to make sure that when you start playing Palworld, you can begin as quickly and efficiently as possible and have the best experience that you can. Let me know in the comments below if you have any tips for beginners in Palworld, and let's get started with those tips. When you are ready to start your Palworld game, go ahead and create a new world, name it whatever you want, and then you want to spend some time with your settings. Don't neglect this, and remember you can go back and change these later, so don't stress too much over it, but you can choose if you want multiplayer on or off, the difficulty of your game. Now personally, I like casual because I'm focusing more on the creature collection and building my base rather than the fights. And then go down to the custom settings, and you have a ton of different sliders that will affect items in your game. For example, you might want to change your XP gaining rate. When I began, I started it at 10. It was way too high. I want the game to last longer. I want to take my time and enjoy it. So go ahead and play around with that. You might want to leave your PAL capture rate up high. That will make it easier to capture the wild PALs. Two other sliders you might want to play around with is the damage from your pals and the damage to your pals. If you're having a hard time capturing pals because your pals that are helping you are killing them too quickly, this is what you're going to want to play around with. I don't like to worry about feeding my pals or myself too much, so I decreased the pal hunger rate as well as the player hunger rate down here. And then you have your pal stamina that you might want to increase, and your player stamina as well. You also might want to increase your PAL HP regeneration rate as well as your player HP regeneration rate. If you want to change how much damage your player is taking and giving, you can adjust these two sliders right here, damage from player, damage to the player. And you also might want to decrease your structure deterioration rate. Do you want things in your base to be decaying and you have to replace them? And another thing you might want to consider leaving off for right now is the raid events. There will be wild pals coming to raid your base and they might burn everything to the ground. I think you eventually will want to turn that on because you can gain access to additional pals, but in the beginning when you're just starting out, you might want to leave that off. And then I also have the time to incubate massive eggs all the way down to 0. Another setting you might want to adjust is whether or not to drop your items when you die, because you're going to die. I have it set to not drop anything. You can drop all items except your equipment. You can drop all of your items and all items and your pals, totally up to you. Next, let's talk about multiplayer. You can go into your options in your menu and there will be an invite code, and you can reveal it, you can copy it, and you can give it to up to 3 friends to join you. If you would like to join friends on a multiplayer session, you're going to click this option and enter the code here. Remember, if you want to turn on the option for multiplayer, you are going to go into your world settings and turn it on right here. If you want to join a community server, choose this option. You have tons of different options of servers you can join. It looks like, for me, the ping is really high. I don't really know. I've never tried any of these servers, but this is an option if you are interested. Next, let's go back in our menu, and we are going to take a look over here at our stats. As you level up, you will get stat points to spend, and you can allocate them to your HP, stamina, attack, defense, work speed, or weight. I would recommend that you allocate your first points to HP, weight, and then stamina. Remember, you can also adjust your stamina within your game settings. HP, you're definitely going to want when you are fighting creatures in the wild, and then weight, that doesn't mean how much your player weighs, that means how much you can carry. As you can see here, my weight says 800 on the right, and then on the left it says I have 335.6 out of 800. And trust me, you are going to want that capacity. So weight, HP, and then stamina as a third. In my opinion, you don't need to worry too much about attack and defense and work speed, because all of these your pals will be helping out with. While we're in the menu, let's hop on over to technology. Just like your stats, as you level up, you will get technology points, and these you will spend to unlock things to craft. And these are so much fun. I currently have 22 points to spend, and I do caution you to be a bit frivolous and frugal about what you are unlocking. For example, you really don't need a lot of the furniture items. Those are just amenities to accessorize with, right? But you're going to want the parachute. That is your glider. You'll be able to fly through the air. You'll love it. You'll want the ranch. You'll want the berry plantation. You make food with these. You're going to want the PAL workbench. And when you get certain PALs, when you capture them like Fox Sparks, the Melpaca, Daydream, there are accessories you can unlock for these pals. You can turn the Fox into a flamethrower. You can ride Melpaca, and Daydream has a necklace. So just be a little bit cautious about what you are unlocking and keep your eyes peeled for what you have not unlocked yet. I'm only level 20 right now, but do I see anything that I want to save up for? Maybe this ammo, maybe the metal armor. So I'm going to be careful about what I am buying and make sure I really want it, unless I just have a ton of technology points. Where you put your starting base is going to be very important, so take some time to find the right location. When you begin the game, you're going to start up here in the windswept hills in the Plateau of the Beginnings. I put my base right down here. I'll show you in a minute where that is. You can choose to put it anywhere, but this beginning area is pretty friendly to beginners, so I think it's a good place to start, and you can have a second base later. You can move your base. It's going to be a little bit difficult to do, but one thing to keep in mind is to find a plot of land that is pretty flat and has room for you to build. You can see the area that I chose down here. It's nice and flat and wide open. And do you see this blue line right on the ground here? When you build your base and you set your base perimeter by crafting your PAL box and placing that where you want your base, and that will set a radius. And the radius is designated by this blue line. So anything within this blue line, that is your base. So make sure you are placing your PAL box in a place where the radius gives you the biggest building space. If I put my PAL box right down there by the cliff edge, that is going to make a lot of my building space, my base area up here, which is not going to be convenient. So be careful where you're placing your PAL box to set where your base is. A nice flat open area is going to be the most ideal. Now, one other thing to consider when choosing a base, you don't have to put it where I put it. There are lots of different good areas around here, but something to look for is going to be ore, which my pals have already picked it up, but let me just show you what it looks like. This is what an ore deposit looks like, and if I start harvesting it here, you can see that I am gathering ore. Actually, you can't because my camera's in the way, but this is where the ore is going to be. You can find this everywhere, but as you progress, you are going to want more and more ore. So if you happen to find an area that has a lot of ore in it, consider that for your base. One other thing to be cautious of when you are building your base is you might not want to put your base in an area where there are large wild pals spawning. For example, this mammal rest, this giant green elephant looking creature right down here. Sometimes there are a pair of them in this beginner area, and if they are spawning and hanging out in an area that you might be considering for your base, you might want to build it elsewhere, because these guys are pretty strong and it is very easy to accidentally hit them if you're harvesting something. They won't bother you if you don't do anything to them, but it's very easy just to bump them and start a fight, and they're just going to kill you and your pals in the beginning because they're pretty darn strong. Materials and food obviously are going to be very important. This is a survival game after all. When you start out, you are going to have nothing. So you're just going to have your fists and you've just started your base. So what do you do for materials? Well, you can go around and find wood and stone. You can pick up stone and you can also pick up wood like this, or you can take your fists and you can punch rocks and you can harvest stone. This is going to be very slow, but if you don't have any tools, you can certainly do this. And then you can go up to the trees and you can punch the trees as well. So if you are struggling to find wood and stone, you can just use your fists. Another resource that you are certainly going to want early on is the paldium. You can use your fists on this. It's going to take a lot longer than if you had a pickaxe, but you will get your paldium fragments through here, and that is what you will need to craft your pal spheres, as well as some other materials, but you're just going to look for those blue glowing rocks. In terms of food, when you begin, you're probably going to want to harvest these berries, and they're found everywhere in this beginner area. You just run up to them and harvest them, and then you can open up your menu, your inventory here, and you can go to your berries. And I'm playing on controller, and I just press Y. I don't know what it's going to be on keyboard, but you press Y, and it asks you, who do you want to use the food on? You're not going to have pals yet, probably, but if you did, like for example, I can feed Nightwing here some berries. But this is how you're going to eat. Just like that. And if you find that you're eating too much food, remember you can go into your settings and adjust that. Either for you, or if your pals here are eating too much, you can adjust that. Another thing you can do for food as a beginner is going to be kill chickens. Now, you could punch them. It's going to take a little while to do. If you craft a club like this, you can beat the chickens and then you will get chicken meat. If you go into your inventory, you might get some eggs, but you will also have chicken meat, and you can cook this over the fire and eat it. You can also feed that to your pals, even your chicken pals. I know they could be cannibals. This game's a little bit messed up. And you're gonna have to come to terms with their dead carcasses just rolling around here for a while. It's gonna give you a bit of guilt. But you'll be full, and so will your pals. Now, as you progress from the very beginnings of the game, you will have the ability to unlock the ranch. That's what you see right here. And if you have a chicken pal, they will lay you eggs, which you can eat and your pals can eat as well. And the next thing you'll have is a berry plantation. So you're gonna grow berries. I've got my little whack here watering the berries. And so you won't have to go and harvest the berries anymore. Those are the options for food and materials as a beginner. Now let's discuss building and crafting, which are extremely important and actually quite fun. In order to craft, you are going to build your primitive workbench. This is one of the first things that you're going to do in the game. And from this primitive workbench, you can open it and select the recipes which you have to unlock. And remember, you unlock those by opening up your menu here and going to the technology area. So if there's something you need and you don't see it in here, you probably need to unlock it in your tech area. So you can build spheres. Here's where you're going to craft your main weapons, a torch. You've got your stone pickaxe, your stone axe, clothing. Now, if you want to build something, an actual structure, I press up on my D-pad to open my build menu. I don't know what it is on keyboard. And from there, you have access to all the different types of buildings, the PAL box, the ranch, the wooden chest for storage, campfire, food box, berry plantation, beds, lighting, and then the foundations for buildings. I do have a house built, and one tip is you can climb almost anything in this game. And honestly, if I couldn't climb, I don't think I could have built this. It is a bit tricky. If you open up your foundations here, you're going to want to start with your foundation and then your walls. But then when you're ready for the slanted roof, I really struggled with this. And what I ended up having to do is build this roof here. so I had somewhere to stand, and then I was able to place the roof panels on top of the house where I actually wanted them. There might be an easier way to do it, but I could not figure it out. So don't be afraid to build extra pieces in order to get the pieces you want. And don't worry, you don't have to sit here and bash them to destroy them. You can open up your build menu, and if you look at the very bottom, if I push my right stick down, and if I'm on keyboard and mouse, it's going to be C, there is a disassemble mode, because a lot of these take quite a bit to break down. So just go into the disassemble mode and you can disassemble it. Voila. Once you craft your basic tools, you're going to want to equip them on your character. And I usually keep my bow, I have a torch, and I have a stone axe for the wood, and a stone pickaxe to gather the stone. If you don't yet have clothing, which you won't in the beginning, you're going to want to, it's my Y button on controller, you can cycle through what you have, and you're going to want the torch. If you're not sleeping through the nights, if you don't have a bed yet, you're going to want to carry around a torch with you, because at night you will get cold. Unless you have a torch, or you're around the campfire over here, or if you have a pet. I don't think I have one in my pocket right now. If I had, where's my fox? Here he is. This guy right here, Fox Sparks. I believe if you keep him with you, you will stay warm. I don't know why he's deciding to go for a swim. Now that you have the basics already built, how do you capture pals? Well, first of all, you need to make sure you have some pal spheres. Let's open up. Oh my goodness, I only have one. I need some more stone, so I'm going to quickly get some more stone. I'm going to make a few pal spheres here. We're going to start our production. We're going to hold the button down to make our spheres. Now, if I had a certain pet at my base, they could help me make these, but this game right here is very much in the beginning stages, so it's just me making these. We're going to make 11. Now, I have 12 spheres. I have a club and a spear. Let's go and catch some pals. I see Lamball over here. Now, the key to catching pals is you do have to damage them a little bit before you can throw the sphere and catch them. You don't want to damage them until they're dead, or you can't capture them. And if you don't damage them enough, you're not going to be able to capture them. So I would aim between 30 and 50% of their health remaining before you throw a sphere at them. Now, I know on controller, it's going to be the top right elbow button. Just know that you're going to waste a lot of spheres. You're going to miss the creature. You're going to accidentally throw them when you don't mean to. Let me just show you here with the club, since it's the most basic. Lamball has a red health bar right there. I want to bonk him over the head until it's right around 50%, maybe 30%. Here we go. 2 hits, and then I threw the spear. We got 100% catch rate. It's a low level pal. It's not going to be tough to catch. And the cats are running from me now. Obviously, if you had a bow, it's going to be much easier, especially to catch these cats because they're going to run from you, but I can always use my spear. Let's get a cat. Okay, he's about 50%. It's working. If you open up your menu and go into your pal deck, down on the bottom right here, you can see that I've caught 2 Lamballs so far. It says 2 out of 10. Go ahead and try to catch at least 10 of everything. That is how you get the biggest XP boost. So you don't just need 1 of each species and then move on to the next. You get XP, you get certain items from killing or capturing certain pals, and you definitely want to aim for catching 10 of each. Here's a chicken over here. I'm just going to get my club out. We're going to bonk him. I'll just bonk him once, aim at him, and yeah, he's going to be easy to catch. And I have 3 chickapees out of my 10, and you get the bonus XP for those first 10. So just bonk them, throw it at them. One word of caution, if you have your game settings really casual and easy like I did when I first started, it might be too easy to bonk them and they might be dead. So you might have to play with the settings a little bit to get the right balance. And if I have, for example, if I throw Fox Sparks out here, so if I bring this guy with me, he is going to help attack whatever pal I'm attacking. He's going to light that torch. So you're going to have to possibly adjust the damage of your pals as well, because I ran into the problem where I was trying to capture things and they were just dying way too easily. Or you could have the opposite problem and it's really hard to capture pals. So play around with your difficulty settings. What is this guy? I don't have this one yet. Oh, we almost killed him. You know what? It's okay to try to capture a pal when he's over 50% health. If it doesn't work the first time that you try to capture it, just make sure you have extra spheres with you because you're going to need them. Also, keep in mind that in addition to the regular blue spheres, you have other tiers of spheres. Sounds like a song, right? You have your mega spheres, and then there are other ones. I have not even gotten to them. Gigasphere, and there's more beyond that. So the higher level and larger pals that you're trying to capture, you're going to want to have the other spheres, such as the Mammarist right here. I'm not going to be able to catch him by throwing the blue sphere at him, and I'm not even going to try that right now because this guy will just totally annihilate me. But for example, let's just take this Cremus right here. You know what? I'm going to tell my Fox Sparks not to attack. So this is just me. I'm going to try to give him a poke here. And he was probably about 60% health, and it worked. So you're just going to have to play around with it and get a feel for what works for you and the settings. And remember, you're going to accidentally be throwing spheres. You're going to press the wrong button, the wrong key, and you are going to waste spheres. One final thing about catching pals is your first 5 will go into your party, and I'll talk more about that in a second. You can catch tons more pals, and what happens is the extras will be in your pal box. And if you go up to your pal box, you can press X on controller and go to your pal box management menu. And these extra ones will go right here in your pal box. And there are just tons of pages. Look at all these. So don't worry about running out. And then you have pals that go on your base. And the higher level your base is, the more pals you can have working at it. On the same topic of pals, let's talk about party pals. Open up your menu and you can go to party. That doesn't mean the friends that are playing with you. These are the pals that are essentially in your pocket in little spheres that you have with you. Right now, I have 5 different pals, and these are with me at any time. And what I can do is use my D-pad, and I can go left and right. And if I'm on keyboard and mouse, I'm using the number keys you can see right there. And I'm going to shuffle through them. And let's say I want to go and battle a creature. I would go through and pick Fox Parks is actually pretty strong, so I'm going to throw him out, and then he'll follow me and go with me into battle. For example, if I wanted to fight this guy, which I'm not going to do because he's going to slaughter me. But I can go up to my pal, and I can press my right stick down, and I can feed him, I can pet him. But you also can tell the pal that you've thrown out to not attack, to focus on the same enemy, or attack aggressively. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell him not to attack. I don't want him trying to attack this guy right here. And we have 2 of them. Oh my goodness. This is what I mean about being careful where you put your base. This particular base seems to have a lot of these guys walking through it, and it might not be the best spot, but it's where I picked. So I'm just going with it. Another thing to keep in mind about your party pals is if they get injured, you can walk up here and I can drag my fox into the pal box and he will heal in here. Or maybe I want him around my base, so I can take one away from my base and I can drag him in there. So you can move the pals around anywhere you want. So let's take the chicken away and let's put my cat down here at the base. And there, you see my cat just popped up. So you can throw them out from your pocket. And if you're in battle and one gets weak, you can cycle to a new one and it's gonna take away your old one and put out your new one. So you essentially have a deck of 5 pals that you can take with you, and you can pick and choose which ones you want. You can change them at any time, and this is where you do that. One other thing to note about pals in your party is, for the most part, you can only have 1 out with you at a time. There are some exceptions, such as with Daydream, you can craft something so she'll always be at your side, even if you have another pal out, but you can only have one out at a time. However, you can use that one around your base. So if you're just hanging around your base, I would pull out the specific pal that you want to be working around on your base. Next is pal stats and pal passive skills. There's a lot to know about the pals. If you open up your pal deck here, for example, Lamball, you can find out pretty much anything you want to know about the pals. And if I press my right trigger, I can even find the habitat of where to catch Lamball. Or I can go down to Foxsparks and find where Foxsparks' habitat is. And on the right side, you can see their work suitability skill. For the fox here, it is kindling. He can light things on fire. Very handy for the fires and your furnace. Chickapee here is good at gathering and farming. The cat, handiwork. So the cat will help you do your sphere building and crafting, gathering, mining, transporting. The cat's pretty versatile here. Lamball, here's Lamball's work suitability skills. So each different type of pal has different things that they are good at. Let's look at my dinosaur here. Dinosum is good with lumbering and planting. And if you look over here, look what he's doing. He's gathering lumber, which now I have way too much in my pocket. I'm gonna have to drop some. So it's really a good idea to have a versatile variety of pals working on your base. And remember, you're going to go into your pal box and pick and choose which ones right here, which pals are at the base working. And just go through and make sure you have whatever you want worked on. If I want lumber, I'm going to pick one that does that. Planting, harvesting, handiwork, whatever you want done, make sure you have pals that will do that, and you can change them up at any time. I know it's a bit confusing, but whenever you want to find out information about pals, you can go into your pal deck and look up any of them that you've already captured. You can go into the party section here and click on one, and then you can also go into your pal box here and just hover over them and it will tell you about them. To further complicate things, each individual pal has specific passive skills. So for example, this Melpaca has the passive skill of being cheery. This guy has a Zen mind. My fox that I have in my pocket is a workaholic and a masochist. Daydream here is a musclehead. But if I go over to this Daydream is an abnormal. Well, what does this all mean? So if you hover over one and you click View Details, you can go in and take a look at the passive skill. Cheery, for example, decreases the incoming dark damage. So if you're battling a creature that gives you dark damage, this would be a good pal to take with you. My fox here being a workaholic means his sanity is going to decrease slower when working. So this would be a good pal to have at the base working. But he's also a masochist, meaning in battle, he's going to want to defend more than he attacks. So it may or may not be a good one to have in my pocket, but at the moment I don't have another fox, so that's just who I have. That is definitely something to keep in mind when you're choosing which pals to put in your pocket, in your party, to help you in battle. And eventually you have an option to level them up at your statue. If I can find mine, where's my statue? Here it is over here. You can go to your statue and you can enhance your pals. So if I were to choose to enhance my fox right here, he's not really the best to take into battle. He's better to be working around camp and isn't going to be the best at attacking. So leveling up this particular creature with the passive skills that he has probably isn't very smart. So just know that before you level up your creatures and before you decide who to put in your party. As a beginner in Palworld, what are going to be the best pals to go after for your base? Well, let's take a look at who I have right here. Remember what I said, you can hover over them and it will highlight what skills they have. You are going to want to have a diverse cast of pals working on your base. For example, I have Fwack here. Fwack will water things. And then we have my Eichthyer, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. He's going to harvest our lumber. This guy can do planting and harvesting. Lamball can help me whenever I have a queue of spheres or items to craft. Vixie is an interesting one, and I will talk more about Vixie in a second. But something else to remember is, for example, if I am going to be making some ingot, so I'm going to make some ore here, you need to light that. It says required kindling. Do you see that? Well, you need a pal to do that for you, and I just so happen to have one. You can throw a pal right at a specific job to assign them. So we're going to take our fox, throw him at the furnace here. He's going to ignite the furnace and work on my ore. So whatever it is you need done around camp, if they're not already doing it, but you know from their skills that they are capable of it, you can take them and throw them at the job, and that will assign them to the job. One of my personal favorite starter pals is going to be Vixie, because you're going to want to capture as many creatures as possible. You're going to need a lot of spheres, but spheres take materials and take time. But if I have Vixie here, I don't know if we'll see her do it, but she can dig up certain things such as spheres. So just like you see the wool here from Lamball, Vixie can dig up spheres. Another pal that's going to be very helpful in the beginning is one who can water. For example, I have Fwack here. Fwack can water, but you're probably not going to find Fwack right away. You'll most likely find the penguin. Pangullet is probably going to be the first watering pal that you come across. So let's just say Pangullet's a great one to have. Cativa is another great one to have around camp. Handiwork, gathering, mining, and transporting. Liftmonk is super versatile, planting, handiwork, lumbering, medicine production, and gathering. Tansy, as well as Liftmonk, has a lot of versatility. Look at all those skills. So to recap, if I was just beginning, I would try to get Vixie, Tansy, and or Liftmonk. They'll do your planting and harvesting along with a variety of other activities. Cativa is just a great all-rounder. Lamball isn't bad either, especially if you have a lot of things you want help crafting and you need wool. And then you're going to want a pal to help water your crops once you get the berry plantation going. And Pangullet or Fwack would work for that. You also can find giant version of the pals. These are called Lucky Pals. And if you're familiar with Pokemon, these are similar to shinies. And they are notated by the little sparkles. So watch as I put this giant chicken onto my base. It's hilarious. Not only are these guys extremely adorable and awesome to look at, and you can pick them up, but they have a 15% buff on their ability to work as well as attack. So they are great to have around camp, or you can put them in your party to bring with you on fights. I do have a fun poll up on my community page where you can vote on your favorite starter pal from 4 pals that I chose. So far, Fox Sparks is winning, though my vote was Vixie, so you can go ahead and vote if you would like to. Obviously, pals are incredibly important in this game. They're going to help you around camp, they're going to help you when you explore, and I just love them. I want to take good care of them. If you go into your pal box and take a look at the ones on your base, they have something called SAN. That is their sanity. The harder they work without rest and relaxation, the less sane they are going to become, and they will start taking breaks, and I believe they also can get sick. You can help alleviate their insanity by making them a feed box. This is how you're going to feed them, and you can open it and drag over whatever food it is you want to feed them. And they will automatically do this after a while because there will be eggs in here if you have a chicken out, and they'll put the eggs in there. And so that's where they're going to eat. And then you want to make sure you have enough beds for your pals. On the right side of the screen, it says I have 8 beds and 6 pals, and that's perfect. It will tell you on the right side if you don't have enough beds for your pals. But then you also are going to want to build a hot spring. This is something you have to unlock in your technology, but they will use the hot spring to rest and relax and regain some sanity. For example, if you have one, I mean, this is my lowest right now, 83% sanity, you can take them into your PAL box too, and they will heal in here. And this is also what you're going to do if you've been in battle, and you will see they probably will get hurt. You're just going to drag them into here, and that will help to revive them, help them recover, and you can bring fresh ones out if you have extra. And that's the basics of taking care of your pals. You, of course, also, whichever one that you have in your pocket, you can go up and you can pet them. And if you want, you can feed them manually. Got an egg here. Here you go, Daydream. It's a really cute way to interact with your pal. Let's end this with a few bonus tips for you. One tip is to construct your storage crates near the work areas. So if you have eggs and wool and spheres and whatnot being harvested in your ranch, put a crate near there. And the same holds true for near where your berry plantations are, where you have your wood and your stone being harvested. Just put crates there, because that is going to take away the useless, senseless time that they are spending transporting. Like, that is what Fwack is doing right now with the wood. He's actually going pretty far. So if I built a storage crate closer to where he was harvesting, that would save time. Another thing important to note is whenever you see these bird-like statues, walk up to them and unlock the fast travel. And what this means is you can walk up to these now, you can press fast travel, and I can go back to my base. Just like that. It's like teleporting. It's really awesome, and you can do that here at your PAL box as well as anywhere else that you have activated the fast travel. Another tip is, as soon as you can, I would recommend getting Nightwing here, because you are going to want to explore a lot. And if you capture Nightwing and then go into your technology and unlock and craft the saddle for it, I mean, look at this. It's just so awesome to fly. In addition to having your glider, that's great too. Also, as you can see down on the bottom right, he has some attacks. So we could go down here and use one of our attacks on these poor unsuspecting pals here. Let's try one. Oh, see, that's an example of my settings being a little too strong, because that just one-shotted that guy over there. I could use him to attack the mammal rest over there, but I won't because I don't have a death wish. There we go. I think we're going to get him. So there you have it. That's just a much easier way to traverse the map. He can still help you in battle. You can easily dismount. Another great one for helping travel at the beginning is going to be Melpaca. You can craft a saddle for Melpaca and then ride Melpaca, but it's not nearly as fun as flying, at least in my experience. But you have a sandblast attack. I think that just killed him. So there you have it, 12 beginner tips for Palworld. Hopefully these have been helpful to you and can assist you in getting started on your Palworld adventure. Please let me know in the comments below who your favorite starter pals are and what other beginner tips do you have for those starting their Palworld journey. If you like cute and cozy games, especially Palworld, please consider subscribing. And if you want to be extra kind, drop a like or a comment down below. And I thank you for watching.